Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Prep Life Podcast. This is your founder and CEO of Glam Girl Bikini, Amy Anger. And today I am joined by my fabulous co host, Leemarie Hossetter. Hey, Lee.
Hi, hello everyone.
So most of you probably don't even notice, but she did have some dental work. So,
Oh yes, just PSA for everyone. One side of my face, my dentist assured me that I would be ready to podcast at 2:30. So we're podcasting at 2:30. But if I look a little bit funny, it's just because the Novocaine has not worn off yet. So this is real life. That's what we are in the prep life. You get real us.
yeah, your voice sounds great, I think.
You.
So, let's kind of talk about the last 7 days. I
Mhm.
know we saw each other on Saturday, which was exciting. The grand opening of Beastified gym, and we were working the Glam Girl booth. So we got to see the ribbon cutting, and there were a bunch of vendors that were local, small businesses. It was really good vibe, and it was so fun. So any clients that came, thank you so much for coming out. We're really excited about like the technology that's going to be there. I'm going to be offering the EMG. We're going to have the Fit 3D scanner there in house, and there's a private posing room. So you don't have to be posing in front of people, and just some like specialty equipment and things. So, yeah, I'm already just, it's been really nice to like meet up with clients there in
Yeah,
the
I
gym.
just want to say, like, if you're in the Kansas City area and you have a goal of competition prep or any sort of goal, the more data you can get, it's actually really interesting and really helpful for your training. So if you have a chance to book a session with Amy with the using the EMG testing, if you don't know what that is, really cool. Just kind of in a nutshell, it'll tell you what exercises really activate muscles that you might be lagging in and need to build up. So for me, we tried it on my glutes. You could try it on your shoulders or just any muscle parts that you are trying to build specifically. And it'll show you which exercises are really good and which form and technique, little tweaks, things here and there, and really just helps give you an idea of how to make the most of your workout. And then also that Fit 3D scanner is really good tool to measure progress and also to see, we've used it on me to see muscle imbalances and work into my training more like unilateral work, more single leg kind of things to balance out muscle imbalances. So both of those tools are really cool data to have and really beneficial for your training program. So if you're anywhere in this area, you should definitely come and do both of those at least once just for the experience.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah. I
I'm
love
just a science nerd that enjoys it. But yeah, it's
it.
so intriguing for me to like actually see all these different scans and trends. And then also with the EMG, it's just so funny how, I mean, we know as the unicorn prep that everybody is unique. And it's crazy how one exercise really activates glutes for one person and then it totally doesn't for another. So
Mhm.
everybody's body's different. And even just like positions of feet and like hip thrusting and stuff like that can make a big difference. So yeah, that's we're giving away an EMG. I think they're doing the drawing on Friday, July
Oh,
5th.
cool.
So I think this
Great.
podcast will go out today, which is the first day of July. Any prep updates, Lee?
So yeah, so I made huge progress this week. I'm really excited. Dropped 2 pounds and all my measurements went down. So that's really exciting. The biggest thing for me this week was last week. Really, the only change we made was increasing my steps. And we've discovered the last couple of preps that that makes such a big impact on my fat loss. And so just by increasing my step goal from, I think it was like 10 to 12 to 12 to 15, but then we were pushing the 15. And then I actually got my average steps up to even 18K last week. So I was the busy little bee running around all week. But it just goes to show you too that how active you are, even just outside of your gym and your scheduled cardio makes a huge difference. So if you're stuck
Yeah.
in a desk job or something, get up and walk around, take the stairs always, park at the end of the parking lot. All of those little things add up. So that was kind of
Mhm.
what I learned this week. What about you?
Yeah, well, before I get into that,
Okay.
I I heard from somebody that they just moved from a regular sitting desk to a standing desk and they lost like
Ooh,
3 pounds in one
stop.
week by just making that one change of
Yes.
standing versus sitting,
Yes.
which is crazy.
Our bodies are
Which
made to move.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm 4 weeks out and I just hit a new low weight today. I was excited.
Yay.
Um, I've really been grinding it out this last month. So I've actually lost 17.2 pounds this month. Like it's been
Oh,
like 5-ish weeks, but yeah, I've been
whoa.
like really getting after it. So
Okay, let's go.
I'm in it to win it.
Let's go. For sure you are. Yes.
So it
So
was, yeah,
speaking of that,
it's not been for nothing because there's been a lot of effort
oh,
involved,
absolutely. Yeah.
but I'm here for it. So I want to bring my best. So
Love it.
that's what it's
I
taking right
love
now.
it. Well, and that's just kind of, I feel like that leads really good into today's topic because your mindset is just radiating from you right now. You're like, I'm in it to win it. We are making progress, and your body is just following your mindset. But that's kind of what we want to talk about today.
I love
And
that segue,
had some
actually.
notes. Yeah, you had some notes on a book that you had
Yeah,
just.
I just recently listened to the audio as I
Oh,
didn't
okay,
technically like
love it.
read it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I listened to it on vacation, and it's called Mindset by Carol Dweck. And it's the whole book, the whole premise is comparing basically what a growth mindset is, which is what you want, versus a fixed mindset. And this prep versus all the preps that I've done, which I've done like over 35 over the last 12 years or 13 years, whatever it's been. And really, the biggest change in this prep, I think, is my mindset. And I've just been really trying to be super intentional with during my cardio hours, just feeding my mind with the best things. And so, like audiobooks, you can control what the content's going to be for the most part because you kind of know, like, based on recommendations and whatever.
Mhm.
Whereas, like podcasts, like it could send you into a negative headspace. Like if they're talking about something random, even if you pick a topic that you think is gonna like, maybe it's triggering for you or something like that. And then I've been listening to a lot of like particular different YouTube channels, and then a big change that I've made this prep is journaling in it's called Know Your Power. And I have never been a big journaling person, but it's a really good book. It's made by the author is an IFBB Pro wellness girl, but she just puts about together this really nice, like kind of organized one where I'm not just like putting random thoughts. Like it's all
Mhm.
based on like goals. There's like your body, your mind, and your vision is the kind of focus of that journal. So we're going to talk about mindset today. With that. And so I just want to kind of go through like what exactly a fixed mindset is. And that's basically just individuals that believe their abilities and intelligence are static, while those with a growth mindset believe that they can develop their abilities through dedication and hard work. So that's the biggest difference. They've done a lot of different studies on like in schools, like where they tell students like, based on your efforts and your hard work, like you've put like really good effort into this. And then there were other ones that were like, you're just really smart. And like the ones that just thought they were inherently like smart and intelligent, they did not do as well like later in life as they followed up versus the students and the kids that were encouraged like, hey, I really appreciate your effort that you're putting into this. Even though this is really hard, you can do anything because you work really hard at getting it right. And it's okay to fail in those settings. Whereas the other one, it's kind of like, oh, you're just gifted with this talent and you are only going to go so far. So
Mhm.
kind of leads into number two, the importance of effort. Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so the importance of effort and perseverance in achieving success. I think perseverance, especially. Individuals with a growth mindset see effort as a pathway to mastery, whereas those with a fixed mindset may avoid challenges to protect their ego, which I think is exactly what you said with them telling the kids, like, this is just how smart you are. Like, that is
Mhm.
kind of developing your ego. Like, these are my limits. This is
Mhm.
what I am known for. I can't do anything. I can't try to do anything that I might not be able to accomplish because then it'll be seen like a failure. And everyone thinks I'm smart. So it's actually kind of a limiting belief, I feel like, when people tell you that you're really smart versus effort and perseverance and making it okay to fail. I think that's really huge too.
Yeah. So how the prep life, what I think of when I think about like protecting your ego, when you're doing a prep is like show selection, and
Mhm.
that like maybe you pick a show that you know is kind of like there's not going to be very many athletes there. Like, you know that the quality isn't going to really be there, or you're not really picking something because like you're trying to level up and you're really trying to see like, how do I stack up against like very elite athletes, or how do I stack up in front of Sandy? Whereas I
Mhm.
know like this local show, like we know the judges, like it's going to be a small show and stuff like that. Like, I feel like that, because you're basically like the importance of the effort that you're putting in that growth mindset, you're going to pick the more challenging show because you know that it's going to like make you better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
absolute sense. I love it. You've always had me pick shows on getting in front of certain judges. Like Sandy's going to be there or Becky's going to be there, and I love focusing on that. And then the extra fire of, wow, this is a big show. I need to be on top of my game because everyone else going into prep for this show is on top of their game. That's like, it
Yes.
lights a fire under you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then number three is impact on learning and achievement. So Carol Dweck discusses in her book Mindset how, like how the mindset will affect like your ability to learn, your ability to achieve, even like your personal relationships. And those with the growth mindset tend to embrace the challenges. They learn from criticism. They take feedback as a gift, an opportunity to grow and learn about themselves to make themselves a better person. When they've come across a setback, it's a learning opportunity versus a like, I'm going to give up scenario, which would be more of a fixed mindset.
Mhm.
And then you know that by learning and like going through these obstacles, that it actually makes you stronger over time, and your basically perseverance and ability to achieve more later, by learning through those experiences.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so number four, cultivating a growth mindset. So, how do you cultivate a growth mindset if you think that you have a fixed mindset? So, the book does provide strategies for cultivating the growth mindset. So, things like embracing challenges, learning from failures, seeking out constructive feedback, and viewing obstacles as opportunity for growth. I feel like this is literally just reading the prep life right here.
Yeah, like judges feedback.
Yes, exactly. So you're embracing challenges. You're picking a show for the challenge so that it will challenge you and that you can get in front of good judges. That if you don't win, you're going to learn from your failure. But even if you do win, you're going to seek out that constructive feedback. The first thing I ask somebody after their show is, what was the judge's feedback? Because I'm just interested in hearing it. And it always blows my mind if they don't know. I'm like, that's the purpose. Like, find out the judge's feedback because then you know how you can improve. And yes, your coach probably has opinions on that and can speak into that and stuff too. But honestly, your coach at the end of the day is not your judge. The judges are your judges. So get
Yeah.
their feedback and then see that, take that into your next prep or into your off season. And that's the perfect opportunity for growth.
Yeah. And even just like as being a coach, like in the services I provide,
Mhm.
I always tell people like feedback is a gift to me, and it's an opportunity for me to make your experience better. So please communicate with me. And I think you do a great job of always telling me like if there's like any sort of thing that's going on that like maybe bothering you, like just telling me about it. Like, cause I only know what I know. And if you don't tell me, I don't get that opportunity to make your experience better, as an athlete. So, I guess that kind of segues into five, where you can make this application in education and business as well. So, you could even think of it on levels of leadership or parenting, an organization's culture. Just by fostering that growth mindset, educators and leaders can create environments that encourage learning, development, and innovation. And I think that one is just like, you know, in prep life, like allowing your athlete to kind of like allow a safe space for them to collaborate, especially like the more advanced an athlete is. in terms of like, if they're close to pro status and things like they know their bodies the best, you don't, as a coach, like you don't know what they're feeling in their body and things like that. So I think it's just good to have feedback, create that environment of like kind of like the open door policy in a way where you're just like inviting people to constantly allow you to the opportunity to improve by like giving them constructive feedback and keeping those open communication lines.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it when you said the elite athlete too. Someone that has been doing this for a while. I think when someone's really new, you need to get the basics down. And so sometimes when you meet somebody that's just new, just getting into fitness, and they want to say like, I think I need this or this or this, and it's all these little fringe things like the 1%, 2% things. It's
Mhm.
like, let's reel it in. Let's get the basics down first. Let's build muscle. Let's get your nutrition on point. Let's drink our water. Let's take our vitamins, those types of things. But once someone is in prep, is really tracking all those things, then you can be nitpicky about those little 1%, 2% things and get their feedback, which is why I love the term unicorn prep, because those little nitpicky 1%, 2% things are going to be different for different
Yeah.
people, and different strategies for elite athletes in prep and how we peak them and how we bring them through for their mindset and for their body are going to be different. So it's super important once you reach that point and you have all the basics, the foundation laid, to be able to communicate that as an athlete and hear it as a coach too. So that's really awesome.
My personal example of this in prep life would be, or my anecdotal example, I remember going to a posing seminar that Ashley Kay had hosted at Angel Competition Bikinis. And I remember them talking about like, it was her and Adam, and they were talking about how she will be meticulous about like she'll send him like four different options of the back pose and be like, you
Mm.
know, which one do you think looks good? Like she's constantly like critiquing and reevaluating and analyzing like her physique, but she's still giving him that authority. Which I've had different athletes do that for me where they're like, okay, what do you think about the right side versus the
Mhm.
left side? Or I'll initiate for them to do that and they'll give me different options. So just always like kind of being fluid and being open to change, I think is a really big deal. I had an athlete that we changed her entire posing routine the night before she went pro. Like
Wow.
if you don't have flexibility of mind to like be able to change and innovate and be able to just have that open-minded thing, like, hey, like this was working, now your body's different. Like be open to those challenges and obstacles and whatever it is that happens, like create that environment so that, like you can keep those lines of communication open with your coach and become better together type of thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's see, we're on the next one is 6 mindset in practice. So throughout the book, the author provides examples from various fields. So sports, business, education. Obviously, we are in a sport, but we're also coaches, and we also do believe in constant education, because if you're in the health and fitness industry, there's constant research coming out. You want to be in constant education. You want to maintain that open growth mindset, because what was, a couple of years ago, what was the trend might be totally debunked now or changed just because new research came out too. So I know like we as coaches are constantly learning too with different methods and different techniques to peak our athletes for shows. And so I think it's important even as a coach to have that growth mindset and not always just stay in what's worked for you, especially if you have different athletes in different phases. Um, did you have
Yeah.
thoughts on that one?
Um, no, I mean, we can get into some of these points where we talk about just specifically how to cultivate that growth mindset, because obviously we don't, if you haven't realized it by now, after point number 6 about the book, you
Yeah.
obviously do not want a fixed mindset. You want a growth mindset.
Mhm.
So, one of the points on this list is just that you have to embrace those challenges and see them. Don't try to avoid obstacles because you're afraid of your ego being bruised. Like you sometimes in business or whatever it is, like as an athlete, you have to take risks and you have to really challenge yourself because our bodies are programmed to be in homeostasis. Where our bodies biologically, they just want to survive. So anything that's a threat to our survival is going to be something we try to inherently avoid. So, like, for example, dieting and prep, your body is not going to want to be that lean. It triggers that,
Mhm.
resistance. So it's going to be hard. And you just need to make sure that you're accepting the challenge. Like, obviously, you want to do it within the parameters of keeping focus on your health. But, if it's not, if you're not doing something different, how are you going to change? Like, if you're not lifting heavier weights, like, are you going to make those micro tears for your body to adjust and adapt to a heavier load? No. If you're, not making a huge deficit, you're not going to lose the body fat that you need to. So it's really important to kind of like push your boundaries. And that's really where a coach comes in. You know, my coach added like 10 minutes a day of cardio. And I am like, I already feel like I'm out a lot right now,
Mhm.
but I'm like, I wouldn't do this to myself, but I really do need to do it. If I want to achieve like the physique that I want to get at, and it's going to be really uncomfortable. But I can handle it for 4 weeks, and it's like, it's a challenge I'm ready for now, but I had to like mentally talk myself through it. And I don't know, I think I'm rambling at this point, but might
Really
be a little
good.
prep brain, but
Really good. And I think even having a coach do that, at least for me, it actually like something that I maybe wouldn't even think I was capable of, having a coach prescribe it to me is empowering because it's like, wow, she wouldn't give this to me if she didn't believe I could do it.
yeah,
So she believes I can do it, I can do it.
love it.
Okay, so number two is to learn from failures. So to view setbacks and failures as learning experiences, to analyze what went wrong, what you can improve on, and then use those insights to adjust your approach in the future. I think this is huge to be able to set back and look at why we failed, not to get too down on ourselves, but just to see it as how can I do better and focus
Yeah,
on why did this happen? What were the things that led up to this? How can I avoid it in the future? I mean, prep is hard. Dieting is hard. Being that disciplined for so long is hard. And so we want to make the hard as easy as possible and see looking at failures and what led to that failure, I think can give us a better strategy to set us
yeah.
up for success, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe it's a placement that you weren't expecting at a show, and that almost lights me up as much as or more as being successful and having a good placing, because honestly, it's like when I hear that judge's feedback, it fires me up to like want to do better in this sport. That's what it makes it so addictive to me, is just that I want to do better every single time. And I want to improve. And so I just think that's like huge on after a show, how you pivot. If you do get a placing that you didn't
I, that kind of
expect.
reminds me of a personal story. So real quick. So the second year that or no, the first year that I did the Ben Weeder, the placement that I got, I felt like I made a stupid posing mistake. And so in my routine. And so I felt like, and this could have been, I could have gotten the same placing either way, but in my head, I kind of felt like I maybe could have placed up one spot if I hadn't have made that mistake. And so I was just fired up going into the off season, and I
Yeah.
worked on my posing really, really hard. And then we kind of figured out with my water of like show day, with the amount of water that I was taking in, how to change that, because we thought that maybe had an effect on my posing and my stamina on stage. And so we changed those two things, but I practiced posing a lot more. And I remember going up to Ben Weeder and just like being like, okay, I am not going to trip in my routine. I am going to nail this routine this whole time. I'm going to make the judges look at me like I'm just
Yeah.
going to be the one that their eyes are on this whole time. Like that was my mindset going up, just because I had gotten so fired up from the year before. And I did manage to squeak up a spot this year. So then now this year, I'm like, okay, let's squeak up another spot. Let's go.
Well, and it was out of way more competitors too. Like,
It
your
was
placement was in more
more
challenging
tough.
competition, I would say. But yeah, especially when it comes to Becky Clausen, posing matters with her. I will say that she is. a stickler for a good pose. Like if you have anything off it, I mean, I've heard her directly say to my clients, like a specific thing, like, kind of impacted like their placing. So yeah, if you have Becky, you gotta be on point. You gotta be ready for
Good.
those
Pick a
poses.
show with Becky. Pick that challenge to make yourself
Yes,
better.
yes. Make yourself uncomfortable if you are not good at posing.
Yeah.
Because what it did for you is like you practiced way more that next year because you knew in anticipation that she was going to be the head judge again. And that was like in your mind, it's like, man, that's like your tan being off or like you're posing. Like that's something you can fix. A physique is hard to fix, or like to build muscle is hard to fix, but like posing that's within your control. And so when it comes to like feedback and criticism, number 4 here, we just have to actively try to get that feedback, that constructive criticism, and use it as a tool for improvement and an opportunity to gain like a new perspective on your work or the skills. Um, and yeah, any thoughts with that one?
I mean, just always get the judges' feedback. Always, always,
Yeah.
always. And then
Yeah.
I remember I did a show, I wonder if it was last season, and you actually had me email pictures to Sandy. Sandy wasn't a judge
Mhm.
at the show, but you were like, just email her, just ask for some feedback. And
Yeah.
she got right
She's so
back
good.
within like a week and gave me some
Hmm.
feedback. And it was amazing. And so seek out that feedback. It's free and it's gonna help you. It's like a free like pro tip literally
Yeah.
from the judges. So definitely
Yes.
I'll get the feedback. And then okay, so number 5 is change your self-talk. I think this is huge. Pay attention to your inner dialogue and and challenge a fixed mindset, like I'm not good at this or I'll never be able to do that. Replace that with I can learn this with practice and effort. I'm going to be good at this. I'm going to figure this out. I can grow. I can be better. I think that's huge. I think it's huge for your whole entire prep. But then also, I think what's going on in your head really shows when you're on stage. And so Sandy talks about this thing called the X factor. And yes, you want to nail your posing. And yes, you want to nail your physique, nail your tan, nail your everything. But if you're standing up there and your self talk inside of you is going, I'm so uncomfortable. I'm so nervous. I'm shaking. Everybody thinks like I'm not as good as these other girls. It's going to show. And you're not going to be just beaming and shining on stage. So really feed your inner self-talk. Have some mantras that you repeat to yourself. Really, I love to connect with the other girls in my class while we're standing in line. I love to encourage them. I feel encouraged when I encourage them. And I just really think you can tell the girls that are on stage just loving it.
Yeah.
And you can just see it on their face. They look beautiful. They look like they belong on stage. They look so much different than the ones that you can kind of tell, oh, that one's nervous. And you can just see it in
Mhm.
their face. Even if you are nervous, fill your mind with those thoughts as you go on stage and fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yeah. Make a persona or something if you have to. Yeah, I just feel like the body really follows whatever the mind is saying. And so I've gotten to a point where I'm like writing things down because you're 44% more likely to achieve the goal if you put it in writing, and then like speaking it over yourself and pronouncing it in a very specific way. So like that was one thing I really liked about this journal, is that it requires that you say what it is you're trying to achieve that day, but you have to mention the location, the time, like how you're going to do it very specifically, because it's really important to be specific in what you're asking for. And I think, speaking those words as affirmations, if you can proclaim it to somebody or if you can put it on paper and just think about the fact that that increases your chances of actually achieving it by 44%, that's a huge thing just to kind of get that out of your head and put it on paper.
Huge.
Um, okay, so learn from others' success. So I always feel like success leaves clues. And whenever I am not in a place where I can surround myself by like minded people, I will specifically reach out to like looking for somebody that has achieved what I am looking to achieve.
Mhm.
So I have been going on a binge watch of Holly Baxter's like YouTube,
Ooh,
um,
good.
because like she has already achieved a goal that I am working towards. And I want to know everything, like all the little clues that she leaves. I remember like, if somebody wants to like listen to like an IFBB pro, like I would send them athletes to listen to like Celeste podcasts or Bikini Diaries, like with Naima, because they need to hear like, okay, these are people that have already achieved what you want to achieve. Like you need to fill your mind with what they're doing and pay attention because success leaves clues. And, there's no like magic formula, obviously, but like the more you can put yourself around other people that are successful, it's so key, which is one of the reasons why I've been loving just going to the gym at Beastified. I mean, it's right across the street from me, but also just like the culture that whoever you expose yourself to, that's what you're going to be the average of. So I want to expose myself to people that are very goal driven and bodybuilding mindset, and like they're intense over there. Like you're gonna get beastified if you're over there. So
Yeah,
I just like being around that kind of like environment because it just really gives me inspiration and it kind of like gives me strategies too that kind of like align with the growth that I want to achieve and the success and things that I want to accomplish.
totally. Totally. And so the next one is to cultivate curiosity, stay curious, stay open minded about new ideas, perspectives, and experiences. Cultivating a love for learning keeps you engaged and motivated to develop new skills. I love this idea, especially with our sport and anything in the health and fitness arena. Like there's always new research coming out. There's always new techniques, new things. I love following other trainers and coaches on their YouTubes or podcasts. I love listening to their ideas and their techniques. I love even watching YouTube vlogs of like a day in the life of the pros, like Miss
Yes,
Olympia and the
behind the
former
scene.
Miss Olympias, and just seeing how they like live out their daily life as an elite athlete, I think is
Yeah,
really interesting. And how do they live different than how I live, even in their off season? Like they are an athlete year round, even
yeah.
in the off season, and they always have that mindset. And sometimes they'll do something and it's like, I wonder if I should try that. That seems like interesting, like new supplement or a new technique for the gym. I love following Laura Lee Chapados because she just does so many like unique things to build her glutes and like using bands in different ways and stuff and just
Yeah.
interesting ways to reach your goal.
So do you watch Ted Lasso? Have you ever seen that show?
Hmm.
I just finished a book called Lead It Like Lasso, which I absolutely love, but you have to be a fan of the show. It's
I know
amazing.
what that
He's
show
from
is.
Kansas City. He's a
Oh
football
wow.
coach, like American football coach trying to
Okay. Uh-huh.
coach European football in London. And anyways, he has this scene and it's a very famous scene where he's like always stay curious,
Mhm.
and he makes this bet like with this really rich guy, and like the guy just didn't ask enough questions or find out enough about Ted to know that like he had no idea that he was like basically a professional darts thrower. But like it's the point of the whole thing, and he says it much more eloquently, is just like always stay curious because you never know, like if you don't ask questions and you're more interested in other people than just trying to get across your point and things like that, like you're missing out on a lot of opportunities to learn and grow. And I always try to play games with myself, like where I try to just like I try to ask somebody 5 questions about themselves, like whether about their family, their career, like their hobbies. And I try to do that in order to just like learn and grow from other people because I think everyone has something to like just bring to the table. And I try to like in my head refrain from like speaking anything about myself first as much as I can. I'm not great at it, but it's something that I try to do because I feel like when you do ask those questions, like it really honors that other person. And um, everybody has something to offer, like in terms of just like elevating the situation. So I don't know. That's my tangent about always be curious. So you'll have to watch that show if you haven't watched it.
Totally will.
It's so good. I love it. Number 8 is set realistic goals. I think I already hammered this one home, was just making sure that you're writing it down and being specific. But I think too, and again, I'm going to go back to this journal. So it has like a long term list, like of really like basically what you want to accomplish for the year. And then it does a week, like a couple pages, like what you want to accomplish for the week. And then it has every day, and every day has like 2 pages. So I just think it's important to break down those larger goals into smaller, manageable tasks, and then just to like track that progress. And by doing so, obviously if you're a competitor, you're checking in every week with your coach. So you're tracking progress that way. But I think doing it in other ways, like that aren't outcome based, that are more like, process based, to
Mhm.
have that side of it too, in addition to the check-ins, is really important. And I know we're kind of running out of time here.
So
So
I think that feeds really good into number 9. So to use positive visualization, visualizing yourself succeeding and achieving your goals. I love the idea of, so the goal, let's say you're in a prep, the goal is to get on stage at a certain level of leanness. Maybe you have a stage weight in mind. Like that is the goal. That's also the result, right? And so like you said, you want to have little goals along the way that are things that you have control over and can check off every day. So my goal today can't necessarily be to lose a pound because I can't control that, but I can do everything to set myself up to reach that result. So I can get my workout in, I can hit my steps, I can nail my macros. All of those things are in my power to do. And so if I can judge my success by checking those boxes off consistently, then I'm going to eventually reach that result goal. And I think using positive visualization is huge for that. I used to, whenever I ran sprints on the treadmill, I haven't started doing that yet. I've been doing circuits, but whenever we start running sprints for my prep, because I always start doing that at some point, I always imagine myself posing on stage. And I imagine how lean my legs are going to get because of these sprints. And it just powers me through. I imagine my core and me twisting and turning and being just nailing my poses on stage. And I just see that in my head. And I see myself like doing better than I did last year. And I just imagine that over and over. It pushes me really hard when I'm doing those sprints. And it just does actually help you step into that and believe it.
yeah. Yeah. The last one, just to wrap this up, is just practice self-compassion. So be really kind to yourself when you are facing these challenges, setbacks. Recognize that they're just part of the natural learning process, and treat yourself with the same compassion that you would extend to a friend in a similar situation. So with that, we're going to wrap things up. Any last closing thoughts?
No, I think that last one is really important. And that last tip, whenever you are talking to yourself, think of yourself as talking to a friend. What would you say to a friend? Or what
Yeah.
would your coach say to you? You know?
Absolutely. So if you would like to, DM us, give us a suggestion on how we're doing, tag us on your Instagram story. You can find us at Prep Life Podcast or at Glam Girl Bikini on Instagram. And you can feel free to leave a rating and a review. That just helps spread the love to other listeners that are interested in the same topics. And if you would like to apply for coaching with either one of us, you can go to glamgirlbikini.com and hit the get started button. Thanks for listening, guys.